Certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Fellas, I feel this is my lucky day.
Brilliant.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Rankin. This is going to be a fun one today. We're talking about movies featuring vampires, and over here we've got Stacey. Stacey, how's it going?
It's going good. I've been a little under the weather, so I apologize in advance if I look tired or bored. I'm not. I'm just a little feverish if I get glassy-eyed. But I'm excited to be here and talk about vampires tonight.
We've also got Jonathan Peck here. Jonathan, how's it going?
I'm doing good, Malcolm. And no, and for those of you who are asking, no, the camera's not acting up. I turned my lights up, and I'm wearing a little special get-up along with it. So for this special occasion, I'm just wearing the only long black-winded coat that I can find for this special occasion, and then the only red I'm wearing to basically, if it's not wet. And I can't wait for this, and I can't wait to talk about some vampire movies. I hadn't seen them for a very long time, or even some I watched for the very first time. So I'm intrigued about the genre, so I can't wait to talk about it.
Also, you've got Haley. Haley, how's it going?
Hi. I think I was handcrafted for a list like this. I love movies. And if you can't tell, I like vampires a little bit. So this is a match made in heaven for me. I am having a great old time.
And last but not least, we've got Chad. Chad, how's it going?
It's going great. Yeah, I actually might be a little bit lighter on like the movies of it all, but obviously you can see my favorite show of all time is about vampires. So, but yeah, I love the movies too. Excited to talk about it.
Yeah, this is definitely a lot of fun. I covered a lot of blind spots for this as well, so it's going to be interesting. But Stacey, what is the first movie you're going to bring up?
Okay, well, my very favorite character of all time in anything happens to be a vampire. So the one on my shirt, Lestat, from Interview with a Vampire, is my first pick. It's hard for me to talk about the movie without talking about the books, just because I love the character so much, and so much of what I love about them comes from there being so many books and so much development. But the movie on its own is great. Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, Kristen Slater, Kirsten Dunst as Claudia, Antonio Banderas, they're all so good. The pace goes right along. I've seen it I don't know how many times, and it's never slow to me. It never feels long. It's always a fun watch. And so that's why it's my first pick.
Jonathan, what do you say about Interview with the Vampire?
As soon as you invited me to be on the show, as soon as Stacey be on the show, I know she's going to bring this movie out the first thing. And I figured, and I agree with Stacey, this movie gets a yes. This is one of... I have a very interesting history about this film, because my first introduction with this movie is basically when back in long time ago, like very long time ago, my sister invited her friends for a little sleepover upstairs under my house and watched this movie in the middle of the night. We'll watch it. So I was a little bit eavesdropping, and I seen the movie along with it. And in some scary moments right here, when I remember I was very young when I first watched the film, and some pass along with it, and not only more side eyes, I absolutely love this movie because it's not only just only a great vampire film, but it's just really a well crafted period piece of a movie that's set around the time about New Orleans, set about places around the world. And this is actually one of the first instances and about this film that Tom Cruise plays something very menacing, like very terrifying in the movie, basically. Especially after he's got back in the mansion, after he gets burned up, and basically that makeup of him is really staring around Louis and Claudia, just very terrifying. The film, I felt like, wow, this film, we want to get his great performance around Collateral along with it. So I think we think this film along with it, and the makeup effects, it was great. It was by, I think it was Stan Winston's effects. Did some of the makeup design, the blood, and great little detail work of the vampires throughout the film, and it was a great naturalistic story along with it. With that, I'm not gonna spoke a little bit too long about this film, but I'll give a yes for Interview with the Vampire.
Oh, and I forgot to say it came out on my 16th birthday.
Fun.
To date myself a little bit of my age, but yeah, I turned 16
Nice.
the day it came out, and I dragged all my friends to it.
Cool.
Haley, what do you say about Interview with the Vampire?
So I first read the whole Vampire Chronicles when I was in middle school, but I remember not wanting to watch the movie because I'm like, ew, Tom Cruise. I hate him. I hate Tom Cruise so much. If anyone would play Lestat, it shouldn't be him. And then I find out that he played him in the movie, and I was like, ew. So I avoided the movie for several years, and I'm kind of sad that I did because I would have been obsessed with it. I don't know how, but he somehow managed to make Lestat work. I
So good.
don't have any faith in him whatsoever. I am in love with this movie. It is so good. It is vampires just as I love them. And Kirsten Dunst is Chef's Kiss amazing. This is obviously going on the list.
Chad, what would you have said about Interview for the Vampire?
Yeah, like, when I think about making this list, I'm like, well, we need to like represent a lot of the great, like, vampire, writers. And I think Anne Rice, if you don't have something of hers on the list, it's kind of a little invalid for a vampire list. Because she kind of, changed the game with it. The movie itself, I saw it like a very long time ago. I know Stacy loves it, obviously, Jonathan, and Haley love it as well. But like, I don't love it as much. However, from what I remember, I think it was really fun. I actually do love Tom Cruise, so that was actually a selling point for me. I remember Brad Pitt and the rest being great, and a little cameo role for Kirsten Dunst, who I also love. I remember it doing what I love and what happens in the show that I love, Buffy. Is it plays to the terrifying vampire, but also to the romantic side, and I think you kind of need to play both a lot of the times to really show like the breadth of what a vampire is. So good movie. I like it. Yes.
Yeah, Interview with the Vampire would have been easiest for me too. Like I think I saw it for the first time either last year or the year before. It's one that I just was late to the game on, but I really enjoyed it. I was actually going to rewatch it for this, but I don't remember a lot about it. But I remember enjoying it, so yeah, it would have been yes. But for that, Jonathan, we go back over to you. What is your first nomination?
I'm very attentive with some of my selections that I've chosen so far. To choose what to choose. Okay. I'm gonna go my wild pick first because I'm gonna go a movie that I have rewatched yesterday, and I introduced it to my sister who had never seen this movie yesterday. So gonna more like still a little vampires, but a little actiony side of it. And just want to get that little action part. And sometimes vampire films have different types of varieties of type of genre cross into it. So I'm gonna go with the one was also cross to a genre of a '90s cult hit, from Dusk Till Dawn, and directed by Robert Rodriguez, written by Quentin Tarantino. This movie is I didn't watch it like few years, so I rewatched the movie yesterday and introduced my sister who had never seen the film. And the thank God I introduced this film because she never knew it was a vampire movie because the opening beginning of the movie, you thought it was your standard like a Tarantino ass basically to basically criminals along with it try to do a little hostage and plus take the family hostage all the way to the bar down in Mexico. But after we went to the bar, along with it, that's the sort of the twist and happened in the movie happened when all the bars and vampires, which a little minor spoiler at the ending of the movie, they turned out the restaurant is basically up by Empire Tomb on top of it. So the movie itself is really I really enjoy this movie and it was a great makeup by Robert Kirkman and Savini along with it was also in the film by the way, and it was just really just great cast of characters like the Gecko brothers like by Chloe just plays smart as hell in that movie and basically just oozes it very well and basically the gore and yes it gets silly at times to do. It's some of it is a little cheesy. This it is some of Rodriguez's sort of charm along with it. So I really enjoy the movie. So my nomination is From Dusk Till Dawn.
Haley, what do you say about From Dusk Till Dawn?
Listen, I love me some Robert Rodriguez. I love me some Danny Trejo. Love me some Juliette Lewis. But I don't need to see Quentin Tarantino attempt to act, and I do not need to see that much feet. So for that alone, I don't feel like I can put this on the list in good conscience. That's it.
Chad, what do you say about From Dusk Till Dawn?
I gotta say, I saw this once a long time ago, and I didn't dig this one like at all. I don't. Maybe if I rewatched it today, I might have like a different opinion of it. But I remember getting to the vampire part, and I was just like, I don't even know what I'm watching. I don't like this at all. And no, I actually agree. Yeah, Quentin Tarantino is not a good actor. The worst thing that he does every single movie that he makes, or not every single movie, but a lot of movies, is he puts himself in it. And that's never a good choice for him. And yeah, but besides that, I never really had a good time personally with this, so I wouldn't put it on the list myself. So I'm gonna give it a slight no.
Yeah, funnily enough, I also watched it this weekend for this because this is one that I thought, oh yeah, maybe it'll come up. I don't know. But yeah, it's decent. I wasn't as much of a fan of it as much as Chad Haley is as well. But I mean, and yeah, Tarantino is easily the worst part of this movie. um, I'm gonna give it a slight no. Yeah, Stacey, what would you have said about From Dusk Till Dawn?
I probably would have given it a slight yes. I rewatched it. I hadn't seen it since the 90s because I don't like snakes and all that. I remembered Selma Hayek had that big snake for a little bit. So I avoided it for a long time. But I had forgotten how much of the movie is just a good crime movie. It's over an hour before we get to the vampires. And I really liked that twist. And I vaguely remember seeing it in the theater and not knowing it was a vampire movie, which made it a lot of fun. And I like that the vampires were like these weird kind of monsters and everybody kind of turned into something different. It was just a little different. I mean, no, it's not great. Quentin Tarantino is, yeah, he's the weak spot, but it's fun when he dies. That's exciting. So, yeah, I would have given it a slight yes, probably.
But Haley, what is your first pick going to be?
I wouldn't be me if this was not my first pick. I have this movie tattooed on my skin. I have several pieces of merch from this movie. And you get me talking about this movie, I will not shut up. This is going to be the 1992 Bram Stoker's Dracula. Give me Keanu Reeves in his bad accent. Give me Winona Ryder, Gary Oldman. Francis Ford Coppola just really did good here. And this is also a really good movie to deep dive in the production of, because a lot of the effects in the movie were filmed in camera. So even beyond like practical or visual effects, it was all done with double exposures and so many cool little techniques. It's so good. It sticks to the book very well, except the whole like reincarnated lovers thing. But I think adding that to it kind of worked. And also, here's Lucy on my arm. I'm obsessed with Lucy in this movie. She is the best character in any vampire movie ever. Someone start talking, because I will make this a full conversation about how this movie is the best movie ever made.
Is that Winona Ryder's character?
No, that's Mina.
Oh,
Lucy's the blonde.
no. All right. So it shows you how much I know.
She's sexy as hell, Lucy.
I'll just go ahead and start talking about it. This one I didn't love when I watched it, but I've only seen it once. However, since I saw it and didn't really enjoy it all that much, and was like, I was mostly watching it for what's his face's acting, Dracula, Gary Oldman, and I was like, I don't know if this is a good movie. But then after hearing like a lot of people talk about like production and design and stuff like that, like I've kind of like gone back, and I haven't rewatched it yet, but I've like looked at stuff and people talking about, the design and the effects and all of that stuff. And I think that is where this movie does shine. Because Francis Ford Coppola, he's going to make a movie when he makes a movie. And So I think for that, and it feels like this is a very popular, like preferred, like one of the most preferred versions of Dracula. So yeah, I would give this a yes, just for that. Despite the Keanu Reeves acting or whatever in it, he does get better later. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting movie. I love the craft of it. Is what I'm trying to say.
I'm not going to lie, I thought Haley was going to go a different way for first pick, but that might come up a little bit
I
later.
knew exactly what you were going to say.
But yeah, I actually saw Bram Stoker's Dracula for the first time yesterday, and
Wow.
yeah, this is one of like the biggest blind spots, but I knew that this is definitely coming up at some stage, so I thought, well, we're going to cover that now. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. This is so good. And Gary Oldman is just great as Dracula. But then again, Gary Oldman is great as anything, realistically. But yeah, so this is easily a yes for me. Stacey, what do you say about Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Absolutely. I actually just watched the original, and I was saying how it might be blasphemous, but I like Bram Stoker's better. It's a better adaptation of the book. And yes, it adds the Vlad the Impaler stuff, but I really like that lore. So I like that it adds the Vlad the Impaler stuff at the beginning, even though that's not in the book. Keanu Reeves' accent never bothered me. Maybe because when I first saw it, I was like a young teenager. So I didn't really pay attention to that kind of stuff. And then I was just used to it. I don't know. But no, I think it's great. And I think it definitely belongs on any vampire list.
Jonathan, what do you say about Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Yeah. And I will give it a yes for me because this is one of these films that I heard about it for such a long time, many years, and I finally did watch it. And it's such a great craftsmanship, the detailing, the costume design, the production design, and kind of like when Haley said that there was a great attention to detail one of the in-camera tricks, a little forced perspective. Like my favorite part is when Harker basically goes down to Dracula's mansion. There is basically a train track along with it, and a book just pops out. That was a real book. They use an in-camera trick to do it. So that's the little detail in this movie. And also another thing I love about the film is the score, mainly the opening part of the movie, opening score before the tile pops up. It just brings like you dread and basically it grants emotion along with it. When by just drinking the blood, it builds and builds and builds, and it just like when it's screen agony along with it. That is like really pumps the movie. And for me, this is probably the Coppola's best film outside of his 70s work, if you really compare it at all. And yeah, Keanu's aside, like that's a minor thing. Just don't do English accent. Yeah, just fine. That's just a more of a minor nitpick for the whole grand of the movie as a whole. So I will give it a yes for Bram Stoker's Dracula.
But if that Bram Stoker's Dracula does make the list, Chad, what is your first pick?
I mean, I'm sitting here like looking over my list about what to actually go with because there's a few that I really want to bring up, and I don't know how many chances I'm going to get, but I feel like it would be weird for me as much as I've been talking about not to go with this one. So I'll go with another 1992 movie, and I'll mention Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the film. Reason being is because I don't think it's like one of the best films of all time, but it did give us the show. And then when I rewatch it, because it's been a while since I actually saw the movie, and I rewatched it just recently for this, and then I was like, you know what, this movie is actually really campy and really fun, in a very like kind of 80s way, even though it's an early 90s. It's still got that like vibe, that transition between the 80s and 90s. And even though like the show in my opinion is like far superior, I feel like this did set the the groundwork for that show to happen, and for like a lot of other vampire stuff to come later. So and Christy Swanson is really good. A lot of the you get David Arquette in there is pretty fun, and Pee Wee Herman is in it being a vampire, which is interesting. Donald Sutherland as a vampire hunter guy, and it's just a really silly fun movie. And I don't know too much more to say about it. I'm trying to think other than, yeah, I mean, what you have Stephen Root as the like principal going around trying to get what is it, getting people's tickets or whatever, and
Detention slips. He's
detention slips.
detention, throwing them on the dead bodies.
So that's why I'm saying, like, you can see like the brilliance that would be the writing in Buffy the show coming through in the movie, and I feel like had Joss been the director of it, maybe it would have been a lot better than like the Kazooies or whatever. But you know, it is what it is. But yeah, Buffy Vampire Slayer.
So yeah, interesting fact. This was produced by Dolly Parton's production company.
I heard that. Yeah,
Did not know that actually.
Yeah. But you've also got Ben Affleck as an uncredited cameo as basketball player number 10 and Seth Green playing a vampire. So, but yeah, I've seen this. I've still got to see the show. Eventually I'll watch it.
Do it.
But the movie itself, I do think it is really good. But I mean, unfortunately, I'm going to say give a slight no, because while I do enjoy the movie, it's kind of not in my sort of top 20s. We're the ones I'd say yes to, but it is a good movie. But Stacey, what do you say about Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
I am going to say yes, and maybe I watch it with nostalgia goggles. I don't know. I saw a lot of vampire movies in the theaters in the 90s. We'll just say I've seen them if that's what it is. So I grew up loving this movie. I watched a ton. The first time I watched the Buffy show, which is also my favorite show, by the way, it was a 2-hour season premiere. The part 1 and part 2 were shown together. And I thought it was the movie at first, and that's why I watched it. And then when it came on, I was kind of mad because usually when they make movies into shows, they suck. And I was like, whatever, there's nothing else on, I'll watch it. And then I loved it. So it gave me my favorite show. It's so quotable. When I rewatched it recently, I noticed a lot of the first couple episodes of the show are taken right from the movie. There's a lot of stuff that's reused because it was Joss writing both of them. And let's not forget naming cast members. We also have Luke Perry and Hilary Swank in there.
That's right.
So yeah, it's fun. It's just so fun. It's just a fun, campy, quotable romp of a movie.
Jonathan, what do you say about Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
I'm sorry I had to do this to you, Chad, but I'll give it a no. I'm sorry. And the reason why I give it a no, because I have seen this film a few years ago, and I thought it was just okay. You could tell it's basically some I'm not gonna say not thought ideas. There are sorts of things and ideas they're doing it, but you could tell it's like the TV show does a way more better with it. But someone watch a lot of episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I can tell it's a little bit more in some instances, some pieces there came from the movie, went to the show, and I can tell the series is way definitely better. And that's for the film itself, though. I just felt some of those were okay, and I just felt it was just more campy, a little 90s fun. And I had to, and also the reason I said no, because I felt like there are other vampire movies. It has more comedy base a little to it, a little bit more better than this movie did. So I will give it a no.
Which means, Haley, it does fall on you. What do you say about Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Okay. I think I've seen this movie once, and I was gonna revisit it, and then I didn't. If I could, I would have abstained from this vote because I feel like I don't have enough of an opinion whatsoever of this movie. The show's fun. I love the show. Doesn't hit me in the nostalgia way as everyone else, but also I'm like a baby. But it just did not make my list, so I will just say no. I am so sorry.
Unfortunately, Buffy doesn't make the list, and it comes to me for my first nomination. And you know what? I'm going to bring up a movie that's a guilty pleasure of mine. It's one of those ones that I was dragged to the theaters to watch this with one of my friends who really loved the book series, and I ended up just enjoying this movie series. But specific one from this is I'm bringing up is the first Twilight movie. Because um, look, say what you want about Twilight. I think it's because I have actually read the books as well. I think it's a perfect adaptation because it gets the exact kind of tone right in the movies. And I think it just works. Um, and but yeah, Twilight is just a lot of fun, and it's just like you can criticize Chris Stewart's performance if you want, but the way she performs that well is kind of the way it's written in the books. So I mean, it works. So yeah, first Twilight. Let's see what happens. Stacey, what do you say about Twilight?
I don't hate Twilight. I don't love Twilight. I have a daughter who's about to turn 24, I think. God, that can't be right.
You got to know that.
She was obsessed with Twilight for a while. So I've read the books, seen all the movies. I've gone to release parties for DVDs. Like I've been very immersed in Twilight enough to, God, I don't know, but I don't usually choose to watch it. And it didn't make my list. And it kind of made me angry for a while because it gave vampires a bad rap for a long time. So I guess it's a slight no, but I won't be mad if it makes it.
Jonathan, what do you say about Twilight?
For me, I don't hate or disdain Twilight than most others. I didn't love it either. As for the first movie, I thought was fine. I thought it was okay. And it was just nothing really stand outish. As besides, I do like the color palette what they use when they filmed it, like in I think it was Seattle, I guess, when they filmed it. That's the portion I like, and I don't know. Premise this movie, or I don't more the serious information. This just doesn't sort of grab me to it in ways of it, and as much as some changes go, and even to some changes that don't sort of wow me or even hate feel about it, it was just there along with it. So I will give it a no.
Haley, what do you say about Twilight?
I didn't think this was going to come up, or I thought it would come up as a joke. I didn't think it was actually going to come up, and I would have to deal with this decision. Fun story, short story, not that interesting. The first thing I said to my coworker this morning, because it was pouring outside when we got in, was, "Bella, how you liking the rain, girl?" So this movie has an impact on my life. I do own a Team Edward shirt. But then, like, I have so many vampire movies on here that I love so much. This originally did not make my list. However, I'm gonna put it on. I'm gonna say yeah. If I would be wrong if I didn't.
But Chad, it falls on you. What do you say about Twilight?
So Malcolm, you said that this is a guilty pleasure of yours. It's oddly enough, this is just a pleasure. I like Twilight. I like the whole series. But the first one I think is actually pretty good. I won't say great or anything, but it has greatness in it. I love the music, and then I love what we got from it. I love K-Stew. I love Arbats. I love, those two actors together, and I just like, I mean, it's problematic in a way, but I feel like throughout the series, the characters grow and change, and I really like that. I like the romantic vibe of the vampires, and I know that these get a lot of hate, but honestly, I disagree with the commenter because I feel like the list would be weird to not have something like Twilight on it because it just shows a different side to vampires, and I think it kind of hit in the iconography of like vampire films in a way that a lot of other movies have not. And I'd say the same thing for Buffy, even though I do agree that the show is better, obviously. But Twilight I really love. Because I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, huge Buffy fan. When Twilight came out, I was like, No, I'm not watching that. They sparkle. No, I'm done. Then when they dropped on Netflix, that's when I changed my mind. I watched all of them as soon as they dropped on there, and then when I realized that it was like kind of a hipster, like indie hipster movie with vampires, and like the baseball scene is incredible with playing Muse, and then the needle drop at the end with Radiohead. Yeah, you're gonna win me over when you drop In Rainbows at the very end. I'm like, this is actually a really cool movie.
The soundtrack is great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And, it sucks that the hate that it gets, but it is what it is. But yeah, let's put it on the list.
And Twilight is making the list. And I will say, I actually read into this in some countries, like mythos about vampires. There's actually sparkly vampires in that mythos. So, but Stacey, what is your next nomination?
Okay, my next one is another movie that I love a real lot, and I'm hoping everybody has seen it. Is Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston just as Adam and Eve in just this lush, wonderful drama that they happen to be vampires in and only lovers left alive. I just love everything about this movie. I love the look. I love the feel. It's kind of slow, which normally doesn't work for me, but I kind of just sink into it somehow. Like I said, the vibe of it, it's just it just pulls me in. And I love how it's like a vampire movie. It's not like they just happen to be vampires. And yeah, that plays into the plot, but they could replace blood with something else and it would be the same movie pretty much. It's not really like a horror movie. It's more of the drama. And I like that they're Adam and Eve. I like that they name drop historical figures all the time. I like that we got Kit Marlowe in there. And I just really love this movie.
Jonathan, what do you say about And Only Lovers Left Alive?
I actually seen this once, actually. I'm very tempted with this. I'll get a slight yes on this movie, though. I like the movie, and I felt like it's a very unique film. I'll just maybe leave you with that, and I'll let the rest of the panel decide on this. So I'll give it a tentative yes on it.
Haley, what do you say about Only Lovers Left Alive?
Fun fact, I have the same birthday as Tom Hiddleston, and I think we would have a great birthday party together. Cool. And I watched this movie yesterday for the first time ever because I knew it was going to come up. And I've always wanted to watch it, so I'm glad it was kind of like forced my hand to watch it because it gave me the excuse. And like, again, like what Stacey said, I don't really vibe well with like slow movies. I don't have the attention span for them. However, this was an exception. I specifically really love Mia Wasikowska's performance in this. The whole scene, basically the whole arc with her was like my favorite part of the movie. She was just a very fun role. And the movie's kind of comforting. The music is amazing. So amazing. And it's filled with hot people. So I'm giving it a yes.
Chad, what do you say about Only Lovers Left Alive?
I also watched this for the first time yesterday, and yeah, and I agree it's slow. My exact kind of words were at the end were good movie, a little too long, but I love like kind of like the atmospheric vibe of it. And honestly, I feel like that's my initial reaction. I feel like this is a movie that might on like rewatch grow on you very easily when you like can go in and like, see more of like the references they're making. Like, I mean, I caught them talking about like Jack White and stuff like that, which was really cool. But yeah, there's just a lot of really cool style in it. I love seeing, oh God, what's his name from, Star Trek and all that who passed away?
Anton Yelchin.
Yelchin. I love seeing him. from way back 2013. Yeah, I was really I won't spoil it, but something happens with this character that made me very sad. When that happens, it's a good movie because it makes you care about the character. Yeah, I love them like talking about a lot of different stuff, like them having like lived for so long, just talking about like you love science and look what they did to all the scientists, and just how fast Tilda Swinton can apparently read.
I love that the suitcase is full of books. That's all she brings.
I was like, is she looking for something or is she reading? And I was like, oh, she's
Brings
reading.
2 suitcases full of books, nothing else.
But yeah, there's just a lot of really great style to it, and I do feel like upon a rewatch, I might really like this. So yeah, I'll say yes for sure too. Good movie.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of Tom Hiddleston blind spots, but unfortunately, this is one of them. I haven't got around to seeing it. This is one of the ones that I eventually keep on going down my list, picking out movies that I probably should catch up on. This is probably one I'd go to. There was one I watched yesterday that I actually wish I didn't watch because I didn't like it. But yeah, Only Lovers Left Alive is going to make this list.
I only watched it because Stacy told me to.
I tell everybody to watch it. I love it so much. They're like yin and yang too. Like if you notice, like Tilda Swinton's always wearing all kinds of white palette, and Tom Hiddleston's in a dark palette, and their personalities are very yin and yang. Like I just love everything about it. Just if people haven't seen Only Lovers Left Alive, even if you don't like vampire movies, watch it. Although why are you watching this in that case? But whatever.
But Jonathan, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
So I was also very tempted to put this one up there. So I'm gonna go into one of the big obvious one, or the one that might go obscure outside the box ones I choose. So I thought maybe I could bring this movie later. I'm gonna put one obscure one up there. It is the one of Vampire Films, the first time I watched a few days ago, and the one that I pick is also from the 90s. It's a first film by a famous director you might have heard of. His name is Mr. Guillermo del Toro, and I picked the movie is Kronos. And Kronos for me, and I was very surprised about the film, and I watched it on HBO Max, and basically it's a very unique vampire story. Was not sort of obviously like a vampire story. It's basically the shopkeep owner basically found this little scarab, little machinery, gets a little stab into it, and basically sort of a little change. And basically, he has to story had to do with basically with Ron Perlman, Ron Perlman, who owns this little bit of shop along with it, and basically the metamorphosis of Transformers that he endures throughout the movie is really the one, the chilling one. So you had to lick up the blood off the floor in the bathroom, and it's very gross and very more grotesque with it. And it even shows like early snippets of Del Toro's films we were used later on along with it. It was a solid directorial debut and a very unique movie along with it. So I'll nominate Kronos.
Haley, what do you say about Kronos?
Never even heard of it, to be honest. However, the way you described it made me want to watch it. That being said, I'm not going to put a vote in, but I will watch it.
It's on HBO Max. We'll enjoy
it. Chad, what do you say about Kronos?
Yeah, when he mentioned Guillermo del Toro, I was like, which vampire movie is he going to bring up? But he brought up the one that I do like more, Kronos. I was rewatching it for this because I had seen it once, and I didn't get all the way through, but I was like, I'm liking it a lot more like the second time watching it. And yeah, it is a very unique vampire film because like, well, sometimes you don't see how they became vampires in a movie. This you do, but it's kind of an unconventional way that you become a vampire, and it's more of like an insect kind of a deal. Sorry if that's a slight spoiler. I don't think so, really. It's at the beginning of the movie they talk about it. But normally it's like from like other vampires kind of a deal, and this is kind of a very unique way. And then the slow like transformation that happens of this character throughout the movie, I think is really well done. If you know anything about Guillermo del Toro and his like, makeup, production design, costume design, creature design, all that stuff. You know, you can see a lot of the early workings of what would become a Guillermo del Toro movie in this. And I do think it's pretty incredible for a first debut feature. So, yeah, a really good movie. Kronos, I say yes to.
Yeah, I just haven't got around to see. I haven't seen Kronos. If I had HBO Max, this is probably one that I would have watched. But HBO Max is just not a thing in New Zealand. Not even Max is. But Stacey, falls on you. What do you say about Kronos?
So this is the only Guillermo del Toro movie I have not seen. If I had not been sick all week and like not able to do subtitles, I definitely wanted to watch it. But unfortunately, I have been sick all week, and subtitles can be tough for my ADD when I'm not sick, but when I am sick, it's just not happening. So unfortunately, I also haven't seen it. I'm sorry. I almost want to vote yes anyway, but because I think I probably would had I seen it. But
it's not 100% foreign language because Ron Perlman's in it and he speaks English. So,
yeah, it's not completely, of course. It's just some people talking in the movie.
But yeah, with that, unfortunately, Kronos doesn't make this list. Haley, what is the next movie you're going to bring up?
See, there is one movie that I really want to defend with my life and come in like guns blazing. But I'm not going to do that yet. We're going to save that for later. Keep people watching. We're going to go with something that absolutely needs to be on the list, and that's going to be the 1931 Dracula. There's actually two. This is the one with Bela Lugosi, obviously. No one cares about the other one from 1931. But right now, I'm staring at a painting I have of Bela Lugosi go, kind of like willing me to put this on the list. And this one, unlike Bram Stoker's Dracula from 92, it strays away from the book, but still works very well because it is based off of a stage play more than it is the book. And Bela Lugosi has such a rich history. Love that man very much. And I think he would have liked Twilight if he was alive. And this is just such an iconic movie, and it holds up so well. And it is just a stunning movie to look at. Oh, I just love it. Everyone say yes to it.
Chad, what do you say about the Todd Browning's Dracula?
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I do have it, but I still haven't seen it. I've been meaning to go through all of them. You know, giving it like a blind kind of yes or no. I was in my mind before this going to go, well, I probably would just give that like a blanket yes, just because it's like, you know, classic and all that stuff. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, how many damn versions of Dracula are we going to put on the list? Or are we going to try to make it a little bit versatile? I mean, I respect the pick, but when I'm thinking about it, and I wouldn't be mad if it does make it, but I'm going to give it a slight no. And that's just because there's another version of Dracula that I think I like more. Like, I know I haven't seen this one, but like if I want to kind of limit the amount of Draculas we have, I want to go with a different kind of one. That may or may not come up later. But I am going to watch this. I have no excuse. It's like 60, 75 minutes long. Like that. But yeah, you know, I'm going to give it a slight no.
Is the version of Dracula you're thinking of the one that's in a superhero movie third part?
It is not. No.
Is it Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
I love that. That is the best version of Dracula ever.
Or maybe the one who owns a so-called business.
But anyway, this is another one that I actually watched for the first time for this. A lot of the Universal monster movies are really not easy to find in New Zealand. This is one I had to use extreme measures to watch because I knew this definitely was going to come up. And yeah, I mean, I didn't like this as much as I thought I was going to. I still think it's a really good movie. It's just one of those ones that, based on the limitations that they had back in the day, I just thought this was actually pretty dull. I actually prefer the Francis Ford Coppola version to this one. But I'm going to say yes because one, we're probably going to be roasted if we don't have it, and two, I think it's a pretty good out of the other vampire movies I got on my list. This is still really high up on my list. Stacey, what do you say about Dracula from 1931?
So I just watched this for the first time, and I expected to love it, and I didn't. Much like Malcolm, I found it a little bit dull because of the limitations. It seemed like the bulk of a movie was just characters going in and out of one room talking about what was happening off screen. And I get that it was 1931, but it doesn't make it a better movie just because it was 19. Like, I don't know. It's hard to weigh that, I guess. I'm really torn because also, like, I don't have another version of Dracula, but there's still a lot of movies on my list, of course. I think I'm gonna say no and just make Jonathan decide.
Jonathan, don't let me down.
Because I can't really decide myself. I don't know, so I'm just gonna throw it to him.
Jonathan, what do you say about 1931's Dracula?
Part of my twisted mind wanted to add another type of Dracula. I'm not gonna say what it is, but it's part of my twisted mind if I want to do it besides of this. But hold on that one. However, I'll give it a yes. I'll give it a yes because, and this movie along with Frankenstein, not only started the Universal Monsters, and a little important little detail, horror is legit. Correct me if I'm wrong. The first genre in film, basically. I don't think without the cultural influence of those films, I don't think we can get not only horror films in general, but any genre in general. So, and for the film Dracula, Bela Lugosi is Dracula. Like, you know, every costume, look, and face, every person who doesn't know anything about horror or even Dracula in general recognize the look of it and the teeth, the look, the hair. All that is from that film. So I'll give it like a tentative yes, even though I'm very tempted to put a different Dracula for a very, very different movie. I'm not going to say what it is, but part of my twisted mind wants to key on it.
But anyway, Chad, Dracula 31 does make the list. What is the next movie you're going to bring up?
Okay, so I'm gonna try this one because I don't feel like a lot of people may think of this initially as a vampire movie, but then when I remembered it and I thought about it and I was like, holy shit, that's totally a vampire movie. I was like, I have to bring this up just to see if everybody agrees and everybody, you know, likes this movie and thinks it deserves to be on the list. I definitely do, and I'm gonna say it's Dr. Sleep, the Stephen King adaptation from Mike Flanagan. I adore Mike Flanagan. He's a great horror director, and he's the only guy that can really truly bring like a Stephen King adaptation of the modern day to us. And the reason it is a vampire movie to me is because all of the, I believe they're called True Knot creatures, are vampires. They don't drink blood, they don't live on that, but they do live on off of the shine. So their vampiric nature is to basically kidnap people, sometimes children. You get to see it very graphically in this movie, and suck out their shine. And you get to see them die. You get to see them basically, you know, grasp to life so, you know, heavily that they would do the most despicable things. Also, they have a lot of like vampiric, like, you know, like the vampire lore where they're not just vampires, but they also, some of them will have like different kind of powers. And so this one has that as well, like with the one woman who has like incredible like influence on people, like a pusher kind of a deal. So I love that it's a different kind of vampire. And, you know, the main villain is Rose the Hat, and she is an incredible villain. She's a incredible like vampiric type creature. So yeah, that's my pitch. see if everybody else agrees. I also just think it's a fantastic movie, blending the Shining and Stanley Kubrick movie, as well as the book and all that stuff, which nobody ever thought could be done. And so there's a lot of reasons why I love this movie. And yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, this did like when I was making my list. Like I use, even though it's not that reliable, I use the Wikipedia list for vampire movies to base my list on, and then sort of decide from there. Doctor Sleep did come up on that. It's just one of those ones that I wasn't initially going to bring it up myself just because of but yeah, what I'm thinking is that like they don't specifically say they're vampires, but they don't say that, but they definitely are vampiric in nature of what they do. Just because they don't specify that they're vampires in the movie, I'm going to say no, but it's a really good movie, regardless. Stacey, what do you say about Doctor Sleep?
So I didn't even think about this, but yeah, they're energy vampires. I mean, it's the shine that they're pulling, but they're pulling life force. So they are vampires. I'm kind of upset with myself that I didn't really think of it. I adore this movie. I love The Shining, the movie and the book. I love the book Doctor Sleep. I couldn't see how we were going to get a good movie that was a good adaptation of the book Doctor Sleep, which is obviously a sequel to the book The Shining, which is very different than the movie The Shining, and was a good sequel to The Shining. Like, it seemed like the most impossible task to do both. And Mike Flanagan did it, and he blew me away. And it's not on my list because I didn't think about it, but looking at my list, it would be above a lot of what's there. So I'm going to say yes.
Jonathan, what do you say about Doctor Sleep?
I'll give short and sweet. I hadn't seen it, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I heard some good things about the movie, though. Like, someone that actually loved the movie version of The Shine way more than the book. For people to do that, and I hadn't seen the film, not because of lack of interest. It just keep passing by time and time again. I had never had a chance to do it, and now I might tempted to watch it now because it says it was sort of a pseudo vampire feel to it. So I'll give it a no because I just hadn't seen the film yet.
When you do check it out, Jonathan, check out the director's cut because it's great. The way he adds like chapters and stuff like that, and it stands on its own too. You don't even have to have seen the film.
Yeah. Okay.
But Haley, it falls on you again. What do you say about Doctor Sleep?
Stop making me break ties. Okay. So I love Mike Flanagan. I love Doctor Sleep. And I understand the argument of considering them energy vampires. However, I don't rock with energy vampires. And so for that reason alone, this is a great movie for another list. For me, it's a very slight, sad no.
I'll get one.
I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna lie. If it made the list, I was then going to make the argument for one of the Harry Potter movies because you can make that same argument, but I'm not going to. Anyway, for my next nomination, I wouldn't be me if I didn't bring up this movie. It's a great horror comedy, and it features vampires. It's Taika Waititi's What We Do in the Shadows.
I know it.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those ones like I went and I actually saw this pretty late, to be honest. Like, it's one that I thought was just going to be a really not that much really good movie, and it's just one that I thought, oh yeah, it's just basically an office rip-off with vampires, and it's going to be interesting. And back then, I hadn't seen The Office either for that same reason, but yeah, I really enjoy what they do. Shows. I think the way they work in the whole mockumentary style and work it in it just really works, and I think it's really funny as well. But yeah, Stacey, what do you say about What We Do in the Shadows?
This was my next pick. I adore this movie as well. I'm going to use that word a lot. I adore a lot of movies. I love it so much. It is one of my favorite horror comedies. It's one of my favorite vampire movies. It's one of my favorite Taika Waititi movies. It is so fun. I love the documentary style of it. I love them bickering about like the dirty dishes and the chores, and I love the werewolves who aren't swearwolves, and it just hits on all cylinders for me. And it gave us a great show too. So that's an easy yes for me.
Jonathan, what do you say about What We Do in the Shadows?
I'm not gonna lie. This is also in the movie I was gonna bring out if it come back to me next. I love this movie because not only is it sort of like when that film came out, it came in around the time when the vampire genre sort of like not say died out, but sort of like no pun intended, drained it out. It was like it's like I think around Vampire Diaries I think was ending, or True Blood just coming to an end, or around the genre Twilight just coming to an end. And when this film came out, and it really sort of like done like a great joke and like a meta narrative around the sort of zombie. I mean, when vampires in general and brings with it. And one of my keep it game. One of my favorite jokes in the movie is basically the sort of tense stare down that one of the characters are basically quote unquote gets so quote punished along with it. The rap music comes in, and the rest of them is like bash, bash, bash. You just keep flickering him along with it, just like in a circle. And there's something about that is just like I just died laughing when I saw it though, and it was really great humor along with it, and brings like the great humor, great sort of building about Taika has become as a director. So I will give it a yes to What You Do in Shadows.
Haley, what do you say about What We Do in the Shadows?
So currently, I am wearing a little Vampiric Council necklace as an official member. I have this sweet little stupid baby from the TV show, the little doll tattooed on me. I have an unhealthy obsession with the TV show. I even cosplayed as Nadja for a horror convention,
Nice.
fangs and all. And for that alone, I'm going to say yes. Like, even if I never seen the movie, but the movie is also amazing. I always immediately think of the little sandwich bit. That's like my favorite part in the movie. That had me giggling so much. And this was such a fun take on vampires, just them being kind of just cranking, like hating each other, and more about the relationships with each other than the relationships they have with humans in terms of positive or negative. They're just all like kind of, bickering and bantering, and I'm just entertained watching it all. So this is a very heavy yes.
They're divas.
Yeah, they're divas. You said it.
And Ted, what do you say about What We Do in the Shadows?
Yeah, no, this is definitely a great one. I definitely say yes to this. It's weird because like Taika, like these days, like a lot of people are kind of like, you either hate his comedy or you love it after he like joined like superhero movies. But like back in the day, like when this movie came out, he was like the second coming almost of like, great like comedy writers and directors and stuff like this. Cause this was like an instant classic when it came out of, the mockumentary style, like bringing that back. And, just like bringing in like vampires and werewolves in this world, but like, they're not like, some of them are scary. Like the one like Peter or whatever is like really scary looking. And then in the show, they had some really scary. Yeah, right.
Colin can go die. I only like baby Colin Robinson.
And yeah, so some of them are like really scary, but like really they're just kind of like hanging out, and one's just like trying to be really cool and stuff like that. So yeah, and then I love like how they have like in the movie they have like a guy that's just there, and he's like just a tech guy. And they just have them there, and so I just love stuff like that. And it's just a really really funny movie. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say that everybody else hasn't said, but it's really really great. So I love it and the show as well. So
That what we do in the shadows does make the list. Stacey, what is your next nomination?
Okay, this is where it gets tough for me because I got a lot of things that are pretty much all even. But I'm gonna go with. I don't know how this is gonna go over. This could be one everybody hates. But I'm gonna go with Underworld. Give me Kate Beckinsale in some black latex, dealing death. Give me the hierarchy of vampire lore we get in this movie. I love the lore in these movies so much. The war with the lichens is, in the first one it's touched on, but it gets expanded on so well and so interestingly throughout the series. But I'm only going to nominate the first one. And I love the style of it. I love the action. I love the Romeo and Juliet of the romance. And yeah, I love Underworld unabashedly, all of them.
Jonathan, what do you say about Underworld?
I thought at first I thought you just might say Resident Evil for a second, and well, I'm sorry. I'll give it a no. I'll keep it short. I'll be honest. I was never a big fan of the overall franchise, and I just don't enjoy them all that much. So it just this that franchise done nothing for me. It just doesn't do it for me. Honestly, I'm just not a fan. I thought they're just kind of boring and a bit dull to begin with. So I'll give it a no.
Haley, what do you say about Underworld?
So fun. I keep on saying fun story. This is the very first movie I ever watched with my girlfriend. And it was our first date because it was during the pandemic. So we used StreamYard and watched this movie together. And so for that alone, even if the movie sucked, it has a special place in my heart. But I don't think it sucks. I think this movie is amazing. I got a text during the last turn saying, yo, you got to do Underworld yet. I can't believe no one has said it yet. And I quote. And then you said it. And that made me super happy if no one could tell. I love Kate Beckinsale so much. Oh my gosh, he's amazing. And I can't remember the actor's name, but that dude with that really deep voice. I love that dude. I love this whole franchise. Yes.
Chad, what do you say about Underworld?
yeah, I didn't actually know how that was gonna go. Because she had a reaction, I wasn't sure which one it was, but but yeah, I'm on the fence here because I don't love this movie. I've seen like a few of them, and I remember some bits. I remember like Bill Nye being pretty great in the first one. I just don't remember that much about it, but like I'm looking throughout my list and I'm looking throughout like other movies that I may or may not have seen, and I'm like, how many other ones are there for me? And I'm just
You
like,
want me to refresh your memory about what happens in it?
that's okay. I remember there's some good action stuff in it. I know it's not well liked and it's not something that I'm ever gonna champion, I doubt. But then I'm just like, I'll give it a slight yes. Why not? Why not? Whatever.
But yeah, this but with the Unreal has made the list regardless of what I say. Yeah, this is one that is tough because had you said Unreal Evolution, I actually probably would have said yes. I like that a little bit more than the first one. But yeah, I mean, but I said to myself I was going to say yes to if it fell into my top 20. The first Underworld is not near, even with some of the things that I don't think I can make the list and that. So I'm going to say no, it's main list anyway. But yeah. Jonathan, what is the next pick?
All right. Since we're going to the nitty gritty, I'm very tempted to which one I should choose. I had three in mind, and you know
Pull
what?
the wild card.
Okay, I'm worried I might not come back to it afterwards. Actually, you know what? You're right. I'm gonna hold that one for later. We're gonna put this one instead. We're gonna put some a little. I'll just say diversify some of my lists along with it. So I'm gonna put this one up there. I'm going back in the '90s again. This time I'm gonna try it again with that little action horror along with it. I think we kind of mentioned him like a couple minutes ago, but I want to mention him again. I pick 1998. I pick the first Blade, and the reason why, and that's the reason because Wesley Snipes is Blade. He took a character from like early '70s Marvel comics, which was actually an unknown character, and even he was known. There was not people talking about. He took like basically this cult character and made it on his own, and pretty much a Wesley Snipes type way as possible. The opening scene with the blood rave along with it, the way he was wielding the sword, really cool demeanor along with it. You have as an underrated great villain by Steven Dorff, like, and brings out like a little cheekiness along with it, but it keeps a little cool and calm demeanor with it. And I enjoy this film. Kind of started the superhero boom along with it in the late '90s with Blade. So not only, I think it was a not only very underrated vampire in my eyes. So I will give my nomination for Blade. See how the panel will feel about it.
Haley, what do you say about Blade?
So you know how we all have those movies that like, okay, yeah, I've seen it, but like the time I saw it, it was like on TV and I missed like the first 20 minutes and then I didn't stay for like the last 10 and there was like 5 million commercials and I was probably on my phone. That's what I was with this movie until yesterday. And I was like, I gotta watch it because I remembered enough of it to like know that I would like it. And I just need to give it like a serious watch. And I did, and I loved it. And it has one of the best little one-liners in a 90s action movie.
I think I know. I think I know what you're referring to.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's such a good movie. I love the aesthetic of it all. There is just something that I hold very special in my heart too with those blue-toned late 90s, early 2000s action movies with techno music or like the industrial rock music. They just hit so well. Even when they're not good, they hit well. And yeah, yes.
Chad, what do you say about Blade?
Yeah, I like both of these movies. The first and the second one. I don't know if the second will be brought up now, but you know, if one has to be represented, I do think this is a really good one. You know, not like great or anything, like a great film, but like, you know, it's a very fun, campy, like you talked about one-liners. That's exactly kind of what it is. Very kind of silly in that way, but also trying to be serious and dark and gritty. But I feel like it does, like the style of it is really well done. You know, even if the writing sometimes is like to be desired, I do think the style of it is pretty great. I mean, I feel like the blood rave, like if that hadn't been, I don't think that had been done before. And I'm like, that's just why wouldn't they have that? And then I think later I've seen that multiple times after the first Blade. And then I'm like, you know, it just seems like it's very influential, not just with, you know, vampires, but with like superhero films and comic book films, all that. But yeah, with vampire lore as well. And it's just really cool that he's like a good vampire, you know, that's also human and stuff like that. So it's just a really cool concept. Yeah, Wesley Snipes is iconic in that role. Let's see if Mahershala Ali can live up to that. You know, but yeah, it's really fun. So yes.
Yeah. Fun fact: there was a deleted scene for this that had the director of this movie playing Morbius. So we could have got Morbius before Morbius even happened. I mean, it probably would have been better than what we got with Morbius. But yeah, I actually watched all 3 Blade movies for the first time for this. These are movies I've been meaning to get to for ages, just haven't got around to. It's like You know what? The first of all on Netflix, I'm going to watch them, and then I'm going to watch the third one to be completionist because why not? Um, just because I like Blade 2 more, I'm going to say no. But I think it's already made the list. But Stacey, what do you say about Blade?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I pretty much will say yes to any 90s vampire movie. I love 90s vampire movies. I don't think there's one I don't like. Blade is another one that has such great lore and politics and hierarchy throughout the series. Even and I love how, you know, his whole existence is because his mom got bit when she was pregnant, and then she's put her into labor, and that's why he's half and half and a daywalker. And I think that's a whole fun concept that you hadn't seen before, really. And yeah, I mean, everyone's pretty much said it all. Wesley Snipes is iconic. The one-liners are great. And I like the whole series. When I did draft day for trilogies, I drafted Blade as one of my trilogies. So easy yes for me.
And yeah, so if that Blade is going to make this list, and we go to Haley for the next nomination.
All right, here's where I come in guns blazing. This is me standing on my soapbox and screaming about just because something has bad CGI doesn't mean it's bad. We can love movies with bad CGI. Look at Blade. That CGI doesn't hold up. We still love it. But this movie, I noticed when looking at reviews, is not very well liked. But I like it, and you should too. If you like The Mummy, you should like Van Helsing. I'm putting Van Helsing on here. Hugh Jackman as a werewolf. Hot vampire ladies. This movie is so good. It's so fun. Is it like good quality? No, it's not. Not at all. But like, it's so much fun. Kate Beckinsale. Every movie with a vampire and Kate Beckinsale should be on this list.
Chad, what do you say about Van Helsing?
I'm not sure if I've seen this one, and it's probably not one that I would put like high up on like my watch list. Maybe one day. Actually, I think I might own it. I'm not sure, but you know, I haven't seen it, so I'll abstain.
Yeah, this is one that is definitely high up on my list. I wasn't going to bring it up because I didn't think anyone else would. I'm glad someone did. So it means I get to it. But yeah, this is a really good movie. And it's it's definitely one of those ones that is a lot of fun. And Robbie Coltrane, rest in peace, voiced Mr. Hyde in this movie. But yeah, I mean, I might actually be inspired to bring up another movie which is considered by many not be that good on my next pick as well. But yeah, this is an easy yes for Van Helsing. I love this movie. It's a lot of fun. It gets way too much hate. Stacey, what do you say about Van Helsing?
This is really hard for me because I saw this in the theater and I did like it a lot. But I haven't, I've seen it, I think, a little bit since then, but not in a very long time. So it was not on my list. But I do really, really like it. I just am not sure. We've only got 4 spots left.
It has good sets too. That's like one of the good
things.
things.
No, it does. It definitely does. I'm just looking at my list and thinking what I think really should be there and what I think can go. Well, there's only a couple left that I think definitely should be. Okay, I'll go to yes. And I want to rewatch it. I almost rewatched it for this, but I really didn't think anyone would bring it up, to be honest. So I was focused on more like prestige vampire movies. And I didn't really enjoy them that much.
But Jonathan, what would you have said about Van Helsing?
Man, I did not consider Van Helsing to put when I was doing my vampire list, and I only seen this movie twice, but mainly on cable. As much as I like Hugh Jackman and Kate Beckinsale in the movie, though, I thought I give it a no because I feel like the other movies they're kind of more deserved better and a little bit more to belong on the list than Van Helsing is. I like some parts of Van Helsing though, like I do like the sort of the costume design in the movie, and basically, like you said, the sets and just the rest of the film just didn't live up to high of it. So that's my tentative reason for it. I'll give it sort of a no.
But Van Helsing, uh, uh, yeah, Van Helsing is up to make the list. It's making the list. Chad, we go to you for your next nomination.
Guys, okay, we've been playing around a little bit with like throwing out guilty pleasures and stuff like that, but there's some stuff, there's at least two that we have to get on this list, I feel like. I'm gonna bring up one that I have loved for a very long time, and I'm hoping that someone else will bring up the other. I'm not bashing any picks. I voted for Underworld and Blade and stuff like that, I think, could be better, but are still really great in their own way. However, I'm going to throw out one that I think is just great, just in general, and I think it's one of the scariest of vampire movies ever, and it's Let the Right One In. I feel like this list is incomplete without this movie. Hopefully, you agree. I love the relationship between the two characters in this. It's basically just got like the one vampire, but like it has like both the romantic side of like this like great friendship between the one kid who's kind of being picked on, and then the girl, woman, vampire, whatever she is. That whole thing. Actually, it's a little bit. She might be a they, to be honest. The way that the lore of this movie goes. But yeah, I feel like this movie is one of the scariest ones. Because of just how she attacks. Some of the people and stuff like that. So. And while I like the remake, I won't talk much about it because someone could bring it up later. I think this one is just and it would be great to get like a really good like foreign movie on the list as well. So I feel like this one is just an incredible one that really needs to be on this list. That end sequence at the pool. Whoa. So yeah.
Is this the one that was just made into a TV series?
Yeah.
And this remake is just Let Me In.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
I haven't seen.
yeah.
I haven't seen this or the remake, but I was just making sure I knew what one it was. Yeah. Those that know me know I'm not really a big foreign language guy, so this is one I probably would have eventually got to had I thought about it. But yeah, I'm going to say no. Stacey, what do you say about Let the Right One In?
When I said there was a couple that I was like wavering on, because there was a couple I thought absolutely needed to be on this list that we hadn't gotten to, this was one of them. Luckily, I saw it a few times before in the past, so me being sick didn't hinder the foreign language issue at all. But yeah, everything Chad said, I think it's a great kind of quiet vampire movie. It's not full of action. It's more about the relationship. It's more about the fact that she's appears as a child. And so she has this guy that kind of has to take care of her and be the adult. And the only really big kills I think we get is she does like ambush the guy outside, and then she gets the bullies, which her getting the bullies is such a satisfying moment. So yeah, no, I think that any top 10, top 12 vampire list, just for its uniqueness, this deserves to be on it. I think it's just a great movie, not just a great vampire movie.
Jonathan, what do you say about Let the Right One In?
I have seen two versions of this one and the remake directed by Matt Reeves. I actually do love both for very different reasons, and
They're both good.
yeah,
I didn't see the remake.
it's solid. To me, I'm torn because I have one more on there. I'm a bit worried that I might not come back to it. It was in my list, but that being said, I'll give it a yes. to see how it goes. I'm just playing off sort of the wind at this point, so
Yeah,
I'll give it a yes.
That does make the list, but Haley, what would you have said about Let the Right One In?
I've never seen it.
Ooh.
Whoa.
I should watch it now. But
Recommend.
And also the
Obviously.
remake is actually solid too.
Yeah, I've never
And
seen the remake. I rewatched the original instead of watching the remake.
And Garth made this prediction, which has turned out to be wrong.
Don't make me do it, Chad.
Also,
Yeah.
but so I'm a little bit torn from my next one. I can either go from that I really love that I don't know if many people have seen, or I'm going to go from. I'm going to go for this one. I'll save the gold pleasure if it comes back around to me. But this is another vampire movie that arguably has great sex in it, and it's called Kiss of the Damned. It's got Milo Ventimiglia in it.
Ooh,
But yeah, look, this is a really interesting movie. Like, basically, the plot is about this guy, Powell, who's a screenwriter who's staying in Connecticut to write a screenplay. He meets and falls in love with Joanna, only to discover that she's a vampire who survives by eating animal blood. And then when she confesses to Powell about it, she gets him to chain her to the bed so he can prove it to him. They have sex, and Powell becomes a vampire by having sex, pretty much. As they reach climax. That's basically the starting of the movie anyway. I'm not going to go any further than that, but it's a really interesting movie. It's directed by a director called Zan Cassavetes, but it's also one that I never heard of till this year. I actually watched this for something completely different. But yeah, I thought I'd bring it up, see what happens. Stacey, have you seen Kiss of the Damned?
I have not. There was a lot of stuff that I was trying to find to watch that I hadn't seen, but I'd heard of that I couldn't get on streaming. And I believe this was one of them. So no, I haven't seen it, but I want to.
Jonathan, have you seen Kiss of the Damned?
No, but by using some of your description, Malcolm, I might consider it after the episode is over. So I'll give it a no, but I'll put that in consideration. I'll watch it later on. No.
Haley, have you seen Kiss of the Damned?
No. However, Stacey, you brought up an amazing point. There is way too much vampire media that is lost media or nearly lost media. And I think that is a sin. Near Dark is impossible to find.
Oh my God.
Shadow of the Vampire, near impossible to find.
I was looking for that.
This,
The Hunger.
near impossible. The Hunger.
I was looking for The Hunger.
I think that's on HBO Max for a very short time.
Oh, it's not right now. Sorry, wasn't anyway.
No, I'm thinking of a different movie. Never mind.
But anyway, yeah, no, it's bad.
We're struggling, but anyway, continue.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if it's the same over there, but this was on Amazon Prime for me. I don't know if it's on Amazon Prime for you guys. But Chad, what have you seen Kiss of the Damned?
I haven't. It does sound like a sexy good time, Malcolm. And I do absolutely love Milo from This Is Us. But no, I haven't seen it. I kind of want to check it out though.
Oh,
yeah.
Funny enough, you mentioned it. I hope I can pop that. Right here. Fun fact: I actually took a picture of him when he visited to DC in AwesomeCon. I don't know. You can see it real closely.
To me, he's Milo from Heroes.
So that's Heroes picture right there.
So you know.
Yeah. Can I tell you a quick funny story between it? Full disclosure: I never saw a single episode of Heroes, but I bought this little stain today. Took a picture with both of them because I'm a big fan of these guys' work. And basically, I was originally put me and my sister in it because she also watched This Is Us. I was originally me both of them putting in it, but my sister got so shy from me, Milo, along with it, so I had to do it all by myself. Even I joke in front of him talking about it. So that's a little bit fun story on that. Sorry.
But yeah, I do agree with Haley that there's a lot of vampire stuff that's hard to find.
Very
Like
hard.
for me, it's really hard to find the Universal monster movies in general.
Blu-ray.
But
Maybe
Yeah,
you
you can only do hard copy for those.
yeah, that's Stacy. What is your next nomination?
So I'm actually kind of surprised this hasn't been brought up yet. To me, this is like the 80s vampire movie of all 80s vampire movies. It's the other one I thought absolutely had to be on this list, and that is The Lost Boys. We got Kiefer Sutherland, Jason Patrick, Jamie Gertz, the Coreys. It is just full of amazing 80s awesomeness with a great soundtrack, great one-liners. We got Nook the dog, who's awesome. It's just such a fun movie. It inspired one of the best "What We Do in the Shadows" jokes about the food changing into worms and stuff. That was originally from Lost Boys. So yeah, there's Death by Stereo. That's a great one-liner. That I actually have a picture. I don't have it handy, but I have a picture of me with Jason Patrick and Kiefer Sutherland because I was obsessed with the Lost Boys when I was young. And I used to ask for it all the time, but it was rated R. But I was obsessed with the Coreys, but my parents said no because it was rated R. So when I finally got my hands on it, it was like my favorite thing ever. So yes, I absolutely think this needs to be on the list.
Jonathan, what do you say about The Lost Boys?
Well, I might get hate for this. But I never saw The Lost Boys all the way through, and I want to make it clear. Even some clips I did see within The Lost Boys. Son of it, I kind of feel a bit bored. I'm sorry, I might get flack for this, but I'll give it a no. I'm sorry. Like I never saw this movie all the way through, and the clips I did see, it just was not 100% impressed. Maybe I might change my
You saw
mind.
the wrong clips.
Yeah.
I know. I was just scrolling around TV when I saw these clips, for the record, though. So I might change my mind a bit. So I tell you, I might get black for that, but I'll give it a tentative no.
Haley, what do you say about The Lost Boys?
When I was in high school, I was one of the little TV film kids. And we had like a little like school TV show thing. And I made a segment for where I went to fan favorite teachers and I asked them what their favorite movies were when they were our age. One of my favorite teachers, her name is Miss Nike. She recommended this movie, and before that I had never heard of this, and she's like, just watch it for Kiefer Sutherland's hair. Like, that's enough reason to watch it. And I didn't watch it until years later, and immediately I was like, oh my god, Miss Nike, she wanted me to watch this, and I'm so glad I did. I'm obsessed with this movie. Whoa, you've been watching way too much Dynasty? That's a good line. I love that one. This is a great movie. I love all the wind machines. I think that's really funny. Yes.
Jed, what do you say about The Lost Boys?
Yeah, so like this was the other one that I was like, there's at least two that have to come up, and I was like, I'm pretty sure Stacy's going to bring this up, and I was surprised she hadn't earlier. So but I've been in certain circles very vocal about like how much I do not like Kiefer Sutherland because of like it's very dumb. Because of arbitrary comments like I heard back in the day that he made about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the show. But like also like knowing that like his dad was in the movie and stuff like that, I might have it wrong or something. But
maybe this whole time, maybe he was just jealous. Maybe he's just like shaming his dad though.
But as like a dumb kid, I just had that in my head that was like, fuck that guy. But I will say, I was like, I'm gonna watch The Lost Boys, despite Kiefer Sutherland being in it, and I actually really liked him in the movie. So there it is. I really liked this movie quite a bit, and I didn't think I was going to. I had seen it a long time ago. I didn't remember anything about it really, other than vampire movie from the 80s. Rewatching it, I was like, holy shit, this is actually pretty incredible. Like, it's funny, it's scary. I love the brother getting turned into a vampire, hanging off the bridge and then letting go. That's kind of a terrifying sequence because I'm like, if I was in that, thing, just like letting go of that thing just sounds terrifying to me. And trusting that they're not just killing themselves. It's just really fun with the Coreys. I love Corey Feldman's voice in the movie. Just like it's
The
hilarious.
Frog Brothers.
He sounded like a chain smoker at 12 years old.
Right. Yeah, so it's just a pretty incredible, well-made movie, and just someone, I think Stacy brought up the soundtrack, like the chorus soundtrack that
Cry Little Sister.
Yeah, that song that plays, I'm just like, holy shit! The atmosphere that they bring to this movie, like, and even like just how Joel Schumacher, incredible. Good job, guy, because this is a great movie. I love it.
When the crazy grandfather in his car.
That's the only thing that I didn't like was all the taxidermy. That creeped me out. But
That was the only. That's the scenes I was referring to was about the taxidermy stuff.
But yeah, I mean, I'm glad the Lost Boys made it in. I haven't. This is one I didn't actually got around to watching.
Essential.
Essential.
Yeah. But fun fact, long time ago, late at night, once I stumbled across one of these sequels to this, but I'm about seeing the original, so I was just really confused. But The Lost Boys does make the list. We've got one spot left. Jonathan, we go back to you.
Okay. I'm tempted because we're going with the one that actually Haley did mention, actually. However, on the other hand, I'm going to go on the one silly one. I'm torn. How about this? I'm not going to sort of make us. I don't know. This might be the first time Brent can do this, but I'm going to make a sort of a rager for everybody. Like, I think I suspect another vampire movie that some people might brought this up. But I'm going to bring up someone that maybe not give or take is not going to make the list, but I want to have a quick shout out to it. So I'm going to bring this up. It might bite me in the butt anytime soon, but I'm going to put this out there just for the silly reasons. It will maybe get unanimously a no, but I want to get a shout out. We never did like animated films along with all vampires, so I'm going to mention this one. You mentioned the other personality of Dracula. I'm going to bring that one instead. Yes, it's Hotel Transylvania. I know. It's weird and silly to put that out there. And basically, yes, it's basically Glenn Tarakovsky's film with Adam Sandler as Dracula along with it. And I know it's a sort of a crazy theory on paper, though. I'm mainly picked on the first one, though, because I actually really enjoyed the first one, though. It's a unique concept. Basically, Dracula and all his monster buddies basically created his hotel to protect all the humans along with it. And Dracula, being like an overprotective dad, it basically protects his daughter Mavis for the human will. But then one day, a human character basically stumbles in the hotel. It causes a bit of like shenanigans around the hotel, and as soon as the film progresses, he sort of like gets along with not only the monsters getting along with him, but also sort of being along that humans are the bad along with it. So I might get no along with it, but I'm looking at my guns a-blazing pick, so I put Hotel Transylvania. That's my guns a-blazing pick. Here we go.
But hey, Haley, what do you say about Hotel Transylvania?
I was jokingly putting this on my pick, like when I was first like grabbing at vampire movies, because it was the first one I thought of. And I've had a lot of children at work tell me that I look like the little vampire daughter. Yes.
Kind of, yeah.
And
I
so I feel like slightly partial because of that. That being said, this is the last spot.
Yeah, I know. I want to give it a shout out, though.
If you brought this up earlier, I might have said yes. But I'm waiting for another movie to be on here. There's actually like 5 that I'm waiting for to be on here, but like this is not one of them.
Yeah, this is my gambles. Even though I might want to break this up, I want to mention the other end of it. So I was just hoping that you brought another certain movie out there. So that was sort of my gamble choice.
Chad, what do you say about Hotel Transylvania?
I do feel like this is hey, we got so many more movies left. Why not throw this on the list? It's like pick number 3, sure. Kind of a pick. It's really not number 12. But I don't know. Maybe Malcolm and Stacy will prove us wrong, but we'll see. However, I will say I love Adam Sandler. I literally this weekend just went and saw him in concert in Baltimore, and it was great. He's hilarious there. That being said, this is one of the Sandler movies that I don't love. I saw it only once. I did enjoy it, and I do think it's good, but it's one of those where I think a lot of other people like it a lot more than I do. So I'll say no. It's not number 12 on the list for me.
Yeah, I actually do really like Hotel Transylvania. And yeah, it's a good movie. There's one that is high up on my list that I'm kind of surprised hasn't come up yet. But for that reason, I am going to say no to it. But I do enjoy Hotel Transylvania. Stacey, what would you have said about Hotel Transylvania?
I mean, it's a fun movie. I took my kids to it. It was nowhere near my list, not even honorable mentions. I don't think even early on I probably would have voted for it. There's just too much else that I think deserves a place. And so I'm sorry. I think I voted no for all of your picks, Jonathan. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm going myself to blazing, basically.
But Haley, what is your next pick you're going to bring up?
So I'm stuck between two, and there's one I know will not make it, but I just want to platform this movie. And then there's one that might make it, might not. I'll mention the first one as an honorable mention because it's definitely not going to be made later. But for now, I think this final spot is going to go to a movie I saw for the first time yesterday. It is unintentionally the funniest movie ever. It plays as a wonderful satire, even though I'm not sure it was meant to. And it is just delightful in the worst way possible. I'm going with Vampire's Kiss, starring Nick Cage. That was insane. If you think you've seen Nick Cage, that is Nick Cageiest. No, you have not. This is Nick Cage. It is Nick Cageiest. He's walking around in sunglasses, smoking cigarettes in office buildings. He's doing some very unforgivable, ungodly stuff. Jennifer Beals is in it, and she's pretty. And I hope this makes the list because this is a solid movie. Even though it's not in the ways it was intended, but it's still really good.
But Chad, what do you say about Vampire's Kiss?
Okay, so first for like a clarification, because Stacy and I were talking about this off air. Can somebody clarify for me? Is anyone in this movie actually, in fact, a vampire ever?
Yes.
I mean, it's kind of unclear.
It's unclear.
I think it's unclear. I questioned whether or not the person who is supposed to definitely be a vampire was actually a vampire.
That's actually kind of interesting.
But it is still like the whole movie, it's a vampire movie. Like, I don't know. It comes up on a lot of vampire lists too.
Yeah, that's true.
It also has vampire in the title.
That's true. So yeah, because with technicals, we've been very technical here. With throwing out Dr. Sleep and stuff like that. You're still not mad about that one. But with this, because it's hard for me because I didn't watch this one specifically because I was like, I don't think it's gonna count because I've heard that it's just a guy who thinks he's a vampire the whole time.
He does bite necks and drink their blood.
Okay,
So,
all right. Because I haven't seen it, so that's where I'm coming from. However, I would love for a Nick Cage movie to be on this list because I love Nick Cage and I think he elevates any movie he's in, even if it's not a great movie on paper. Even another vampire movie he was in recently was pretty good in my opinion. So I don't know if I can give it like a blind yes or no. I'll just go ahead and fuck it. I'll say yes. I don't care.
But yeah, the works not just go away, Albert, just never goes away. The goddamn contract is somewhere in the goddamn files. But yeah, funny enough, I'm kind of halfway through this. I started watching this before we went live. It was literally the last one that I watched for this, and it's a lot of fun. Is it a good movie? No, it's enjoyable. I mean, it's not a good movie, like, well, if it in terms of well made type, but god damn, it's a fun movie. And Rage Cage is the best cage. And
I
so
can't wait to watch this one.
it's
Actually.
going to be a yes to Vampire's Kiss for me. Stacey, what do you say about Vampire's Kiss?
So I've been trying to watch this movie for a long time, and it is hard to find on streaming, but it is on Canopy. So I watched it for the first time today, and is categorized as a comedy. At least maybe that was like retroactively they've called it a comedy. I don't know. It is bonkers. It is so fucking bonkers. It is hysterical. And I do think, I think it's an interesting look at psychosis. I mean, it is very interesting. And you don't know. I mean, it's kind of a spoiler, I guess. We're talking about it now, but there was a good portion of the movie where I wasn't sure if he was just crazy or if he was becoming a vampire. So yeah, no, it's an easy yes for me. I loved it. I will definitely be watching it again and recommending it to everybody I know that likes Nick Cage or laughing or fun.
It actually reminds me of Take Shelter with Michael Shannon, where you're not sure if he's crazy the whole time. Check that out.
But this is played for, well, I don't know if it's supposed to be played for laughs, but it definitely lends itself. And he freaks out so much in this movie in ways I've just never seen him freak out before. It's amazing.
I said this in my Letterboxd review, and I will say it now. Nick Cage stumbled through the streets of New York City so Patrick Bateman, Christian Bale, could run naked with a chainsaw.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think American Psycho would be what it is.
I thought of American Psycho
Vampire's
during
Kiss.
this movie. I agree with that, because I definitely had a moment where I thought about American Psycho during that movie.
But Jonathan, what do you say about Vampire's Kiss?
I'll be honest.
Can't speak.
All right. I thought for a second, I thought you were bringing something up. Well, I want to give it an L, I'll be honest, because I almost thought to bring something a little more deserving about that film, but hey, it's on my list, but it's goofy fun. Is it a good movie? Not really, but at least you have fun with it, so it kind of gets all back to good movies along with it, so it's along my camp with it, so I'm going to give it an L, I'll be honest with you, but yeah. Oh, what a weird birthday.
But with that, Stacey, you said yes, right?
Yes, I said yes.
Everyone except
Vampire's Kiss is making this list.
Yeah.
But with that does bring us the end of this list. We've still got to rank these, but just to recap what we've got on the short list, we've got Interview with a Vampire, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Twilight, Only Lovers Left Alive, Dracula 31, Origin in the Shadows, Underworld, Blade, Van Helsing, Let the White One In, The Last Boys, and Vampire's Kiss. Chad, did you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I had a couple. There's so many Draculas. If it would have got around to me, I would have nominated Nosferatu, because I think that's probably the best version of Dracula, even though doesn't say Dracula, and it's also a very early silent film, which I think is pretty incredible and creepy in its own way because it's a silent film. But yeah, I love that one. I would have also brought up the original Fright Night because I think that's the other like really great like 80s classic vampire film. And the remake is also good, but I prefer the original. And then yeah, the other one I had on my list was Blade 2 because I slightly prefer that one over the original Blade, but they're both so good that in their own way that I'd be like either one works. But yeah, that's all I had.
But yeah, for me, some of the honorable mentions I had, I finally got around to watching the Monster Squad. It's really good.
Great movie.
I actually really like the remake of Fright Night better than the original.
Some people do.
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter was really close to me bringing up at some stage. And the last, I Am Legend is really good with Will Smith. I think is pretty good. And then the one I was considering bringing up when Haley brought up Van Helsing, I was considering bringing up League of Extraordinary Gentlemen because Mina Harkness, Harkin, and that is a vampire that, funny enough, that's directed by the director of Blade, but it also has Richard Roxburgh from Van Helsing in it. So, but yeah, Stacey, what are some honorable mentions that you had?
Well, the movie that kind of introduced me to vampires, Dracula specifically, as a character, and made me kind of forever have a love of them was Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which I was introduced to as a child by my father, who liked monster movies, and I loved it. And so that had to be on my list. Another nostalgic one, you brought up Monster Squad. I was obsessed with Monster Squad. It was that and the Goonies all day, every day for me as a kid. Wolfman's Got Nards. I mean, will we ever stop saying that? I won't. I don't know about you. 30 Days of Night is a little bit long, but I like that that they're scary, animalistic vampires, which you don't see a lot of. Even though they're supposed to be monsters, a lot of times they're very humanistic, but I like how animalistic they are in 30 Days of Night. But they plan and plot, and obviously they're not like completely animals. But and then is everything else on the list? I think I might have my Costello 30 Days.
You had a good night, Stacey.
Oh, huh?
I
did have a good night. I like my vampire movies, man. Oh, in both Fright Nights. I didn't pick one because I like them both, and I didn't really have one I prefer, so I just put Fright Night in general. They're both good. So that's it.
Jonathan, what are some honorable mentions that you had?
There was one movie I thought, and this is gonna brought this up. I was a little disappointed in it. Was Shadow of the Vampire. Very underrated movie. I just saw it like this morning. That was one of the last films I watched before I get on this list. Willem Dafoe is fantastic as he's the best version of Nosferatu. It was sort of a great little, not to say meta, but very look inside of, let's just say, like a control of director played by Malkovich is sort of like a sort of worst tendencies of kind of like a film crew along with it. And by Dafoe's Nosferatu is sort of like, let's just say, method acting a little way too far with it, even though he is a vampire in the movie. And Stacey brought out like 30 Days of Night, all of that as one of my honorables. And the one who's a very under the radar, I kind of surprised this person that's directed it, Tony Scott's The Hunger, featuring David Bowie, Susan Sarandon in it. It's a very underrated film. Didn't even tell that Tony Scott directed it. So that was the one I wanted to bring that up. So far as that's it so far on my list.
And Haley, what are some honorable mentions you had?
So there's the obvious. I do think Nosferatu should have been on this list, but I was gunning for my hot takes too much. 30 Days of Night was also on there. Honestly, I think if someone brought it up, it would have made the list with how everyone's talking about it. Shadow of the Vampire is amazing too. Some movies that I did not hear brought up by anyone yet, though, is Suck. Suck is amazing, and you probably haven't heard of it. If you like Alice Cooper, if you like Henry Rollins, if you like camp, if you like vampires who can rock and roll, this is a great movie. It's very campy, very fun. I suggest checking it out, and it's so easy to remember. It's just called Suck. Another movie,
but it doesn't.
It doesn't. Yes, and another movie that I think is very underrated is, especially if you like Leslie Nielsen and Mel Brooks, is Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Oh yeah.
It's a very fun comedy, which is surprisingly very low rated.
Yeah.
Very sad about that.
I just haven't seen it in so long. That's the only reason it did not come up on my list.
I knew it would not make the list, but the one that I will die for is The Invitation. I loved this movie. There were so many pretty dresses, and every critic that says this movie is awful is just wrong. They're just wrong, and I'm right. And this movie is great. And I think if you're a vampire fan, at least give it a chance. That's it.
Yeah, The Invitation was one that I wanted to watch for this. I just didn't have the money to rent it.
I liked The Invitation. I don't know that it would have been on my list, but I did like it. I didn't think it was awful.
Yay!
But yeah, I did watch Dracula Dead and Loving It yesterday. I wasn't that fan, and I love Mel Brooks movies. I just, for whatever reason, Dracula Dead and Loving It just didn't do it for me. The Chad's pretty much sort of mentioned that ones we've already talked about, but some that didn't bring up, like Stephen did mention Daybreakers and John Carpenter's Vampires. But with that, Stacey, what do you have for number 12?
So I think only one I voted no on this whole list was Twilight.
Jonathan, what do you have for number 12?
Okay. Got it. It's a little bit small, but I wrote Twilight at the end of it right here.
Haley, what do you have for number 12?
Twilight, and I drew the hands in the apple.
Chad.
Gotta say, it's making me sad. I love Twilight. Underworld.
I also put Underworld, but Twilight is going to be number 12.
Got it. Got it.
Didn't see it.
Jonathan, what do you have for 11?
Underworld.
Haley.
Only Lovers Left Alive, even though I love it.
Chad.
Yeah, Underworld.
I've also got Underworld. Stacey.
I have Dracula 1931.
Underworld is going to be 11. I couldn't find my actual erase.
I wish I could make up my girlfriend right now because I can hear her from here going, "This is BS."
Yeah, I'm happy it made the list. Like, I wish it was higher, but I'm happy it made the list at all because I really had no idea how that one was going to go.
But Haley, what do you have for 10?
Just because I haven't seen it, let the right one in.
Blade. Chad.
I actually, because I haven't seen it, Van Helsing.
Jonathan, Stacey.
I just left Dracula in 1931.
Is this going to be a split?
Everybody has a different one.
Yes, I wrote Vampire's Kiss. I'm sorry.
All right, so I got Vampire's Kiss, Blade, Dracula 31, Chad. What did you say?
I said Van Helsing.
Van Helsing, and then tell me what you had, Haley.
I had let the right one in.
So what I'm going to do is, if your girlfriend's in your room, she can make the deciding vote.
Bree, open the door. Vote.
I was torn. I can change my vote to one of those ones that I almost put down.
Which one are you going to say? Vampire's Kiss.
Vampire.
Aw.
She betrayed me.
Thank you. Tell her thank you. All right.
All right, I'll change, I guess, since that's not going to go anytime soon.
Probably just because it's a classic. I feel like a lot of people aren't going to go with that.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't love it. I like a lot of these a lot more, so I'm just being true to myself.
One. Yeah.
Valid, and I love that for you.
And I lost my cap.
All right, got mine.
You're doing a compliment.
But Chad, what do you have for 9?
Guys, I'm sticking with Van Helsing for now.
I'm sticking with Blade for now. Stacey.
I went to Van Helsing just because it wasn't on my list and I don't really remember it that well, and I wanted to not keep putting the same movie.
Jonathan.
Oh no, Jonathan, you're frozen. Oh,
Oh. All right. Everyone's good?
Yep.
yes.
All right. I type Van Helsing.
Haley.
Why are all my pigs at the bottom? Oh, I had let the right one in.
And Houseman is going to be 9. But I'm sticking with Blade. Stacey, what do you have for 8?
I went back to Dracula 1931.
Jonathan.
The Lost Boys.
Haley.
This makes me feel like I'm choosing between children, so I'm going to keep putting Let the Right One in because it is the least painful because I haven't seen it.
I feel that. I get
Chad
you.
has-
No, I'm backing up Stacy. Dracula 31.
Okay.
But that Dracula 31 is going to be 8.
Now I have to pick a new one, though. That's
That-
hard.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
Let's see.
I got the next.
Really not that, or that.
Let's see.
All right.
Okay. Let's stick with that.
Now we're getting down to the hard choices here.
All right.
But Stacey, what do you have for 7?
I've got Blade.
Jonathan.
Still Lost Boys. Sorry.
Haley.
Let the Right One in, but I rewrote it. So it's interesting.
Chad.
Yeah, I went to Blade this time.
No.
Blade.
Damn.
Number 7, good spot.
Then sky uphill. Okay.
Oh no.
All right.
Yeah, it's getting real hard.
All right. I'll change my answer. Real.
Any crying is forgivable.
All right. Get it.
But Jonathan, what do you have for 6?
Let the White One in.
Haley.
I just erased it so it could be more interesting. I put Only Lovers Left Alive.
Chad.
I'm gonna piss off Stacy. I said Interview with Vampire.
It's a double whammy.
Put a wooden stake through her heart.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Haley. Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Put a wooden stake through my heart.
And I've got
Stacey.
Lost Boys. So we all have different ones again.
Wait, no, Jonathan had Lost Boys.
No.
Jonathan,
We
did you?
No, no.
We
I
We all switched.
switched. I switched to Let the White One in.
That's right.
Right.
Can I switch to? I want to switch to Dracula.
And I want to
Brand-
switch to Let the Right One in. Add another deadlock.
So,
Damn it. Now I know what's gonna.
so Stacey,
Yeah.
Bram Stoker's Dracula, or Let the White One in?
I'm sorry, I have to choose between Dracula and Let the Right One In.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, Oh.
Actually, but
You tried the chat.
I'm just trying to work how. So, Chad, you changed the Bram Stoker's Dracula, so me and you are tied.
Yes.
Jonathan and I are at
Left
left,
one,
right,
right
one
in.
in.
So yeah, it is
I didn't-
Stacey.
Oh man,
Stacey, all the pressure is on you.
Yeah, this is hard because they have such different things going for them. All right. I think maybe technically Let the Right One In is a better movie, but this is a vampires list. So that one's got to go before Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Disagree.
I know.
Let the Right One In is going to be in 6.
All right.
It would have been my next one anyway. That's the other thing is I wouldn't have put Dracula yet. Where are we though? Okay. Yeah.
All right. We're at 5.
Yeah, I would have had it at 5. So
Yeah. But Haley, what do you have for number 5?
I didn't finish writing, but it's Only Lovers Left Alive. Nothing against the movie. I love it. But these are all amazing
and
movies.
I just went with your. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I went Dracula here.
Bram Stoker's Dracula, Stacey,
Lost Boys.
Jonathan.
Lost Boys.
So Haley, you're not going to pick Bram Stoker's Dracula, are you?
Bye bye, Lost Boys. No, I love the movie, but I will happily kill that child over Bram Stoker's Dracula.
That's insane to me. But okay.
I mean, as soon as Jonathan revealed, I was like, yeah, I already had that. Brand already pre-made.
I mean, I love like all of these. But
Yeah, these are
Yeah.
all amazing movies.
Just to recap what's left, got Interview with the Vampire, Bram Stoker's Dracula, Only Lovers Left Alive, and What We Do in the Shadows.
Got it.
But Chad, what do you have for number 4?
Dracula.
But yeah, I actually changed. I went to Only Lovers Left Alive just because it's the only one out of the 4 I haven't seen. Stacey.
I mean, I went Dracula because my top 3 are still on the board. So
Jonathan.
Only Lovers Left Alive.
oh,
Haley.
Wow.
Does this mean I have to break the tie? Can I
What?
change my answer if it breaks the tie
Just say what you
and
want.
protects my movie? Only
Yeah.
Lovers Left Alive. I'm dying on the hill that Bram Stoker's Dracula is the best movie of all time.
All right. Okay, what's left again?
Bram Stoker's Dracula, Interview with a Vampire, and What We Do in the Shadows.
Okay, gotcha.
that one hurt. That one hurt a lot.
I'm so sorry.
It's all right. Hey, I didn't even know if everyone would have seen it. So
I mean, look, maybe when I see it, I think like fool for putting it that low, but it was just the only one out of the 4 I haven't seen. The other ones I actually do really like. But that being said, I do have to go back to this for 3. Bram Stoker's Dracula. Stacey,
Dracula.
Jonathan,
What do we do in the shadows?
Haley,
The Dead But Delicious.
Chad.
Dracula.
Okay, then.
That Bram Stoker's Dracula is going to be number 3.
Oh, now we put our number 1. That's right.
Yep.
I was
All right.
putting my number 2.
You just threw me out in the sunlight like that?
Now we write our number 1.
I get to find my cap to my marker. No.
But Stacey, what do you have for number 1?
Oh, big shocker of the night. My number 1 still Interview with the Vampire.
Jonathan.
Mine is. Let me do shows. No one's Interview with the Vampire.
Haley.
It is Interview with the Vampire.
Chad.
It's fucking insane to me, guys. What we do in the shadows. It's
I
ridiculous.
also have what we do in the shadows, but I'm probably slightly biased.
Yeah,
on it.
you two got outvoted.
I need my vampires to be hot.
I mean, to be fair, Chad, you admitted you haven't seen Interview with the Vampire in a long time.
Well, I mean, not that long ago, but it's still, this is a vampire list, and it's just
Interview with
not
the
top 3.
Vampire.
It's just not top 3. Neither is Dracula, but it's okay.
I disagree with you on Dracula. I think over time it will probably climb the list, but it just fell where it fell on my personal list because it was the first time I'd seen it. So,
Well, you know what, guys? Dracula's my number 1. And it's going to stay my number 1 for the rest of my life. No matter what.
but with that, just to recap, what our list for top 12 vampire movies featuring vampires. At number 12, we've got Twilight. At 11, we had Underworld. At 10, we had Vampire's Kiss. At 9, we got Van Helsing. At 8, we got 1931 Dracula. At 7, we got Blade. At 6, we got Let the Right One In. At 5, we got The Lost Boys. At 4, we got Only Lovers Left Alive. At 3, we got Bram Stoker's Dracula. At 2, we got What We Do in the Shadows. And number 1 is Interview with the Vampire. But it's a fun list. At the time that I checked the poll, the next week's topic is going to be top 12 Joaquin Phoenix movies. Stacey, where can people find you online?
Oh gosh, I don't know. The same place as I said last week. I'm tired and I have a fever.
Jonathan, where can people find you online?
If you see this on the screen, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at jped1098. You can find me on Facebook at Jonathan Peck. You might see me around here around TMG Entertainment when I sort of judge matches, and also around like a couple weeks ago, I actually competed in a movie battleground match. So just wanted to do a quick plug-in for that, and that's pretty much it on my part.
Haley, where can people find you online?
You can't. I am recording this with one of those Barbie dolls that has a camera in the chest.
Chairhead, where can people find you online?
Well, I'm glad I got one in there. So that was great. However, you can find me over also at the Movie Battleground. Check that out. It's a great debate league. But yeah, check out the Dill Pickle Movie Network, where I do a show with my buddy Dylan. Picture This, where we talk Oscar movies. We go through like the best pictures. We just finished our Godfather series, and next we're doing May. We're doing a retrospective for 2013. So excited to revisit those movies that I saw when I was like 23. So that's gonna be a fun time. Check out the Nerd Entertainment Network that I do. I do a show called Welcome to Primetime with my buddy Hunter and my wife Carrie. We just talk horror movies all the time. We rank Buffy. We got Hunter to watch Buffy, so we're ranking all those episodes, and it's pretty fun. So yeah, check all that out. Check out my blog that I do, Clear Eyes Full Heart Reviews. .wordpress.com. I just try to review stuff over there. A good time. And then check out my channel, Chadwick Webb, where I rank stuff with a bunch of people. Have really good time. It's been a while since we've done one, but we did like a big Disney animated one, so like all 61 of those took like 5.5 hours. That was crazy. I don't know if we'll do that again. I might have to break it up if we do DreamWorks or Pixar, but yeah, check that out. Good times. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
I can't wait for when you do the probably 4.5 hour one on MCU.
we broke that up into 3 parts already, or 4 parts.
But yeah, you can find me hosting Rankum every Sunday night. Next week is definitely top 12 Joaquin Phoenix movies. You can find me post this poll up on the Fat Take 3 page tomorrow, where people are probably going to be upset that Twilight is on the list, but I don't care.
You shouldn't have put me on here.
Good movie.
But yeah, you pretty much you can find tournaments, trivia. You can probably find me hanging out, hosting, competing, and yeah. So until next time, keep listening shit as I find something to go out on.
Don't hate me because I'm beautiful.
Hell yeah.